Everyone laughed when a bankrupt millionaire took in a homeless little girl, until he discovered she was the missing heir to a billion-dollar empire. Before the story begins, wherever you are in your own journey, take this as your sign. Keep going. Rain battered the streets of Manhattan like it held a grudge against the entire city. Alex Donovan pulled his once expensive coat tighter around himself, all too aware of the worn cuffs and the hole in his left pocket. Just 6 months ago, he wouldn't have noticed the rain, not from the back seat of his chauffeured Bentley. 6 months ago, he'd been one of New York's golden boys, 32 years old, with a net worth of $70 million. Now, he was just another failed entrepreneur with an almost empty bank account and an apartment he wouldn't be able to afford next month. When Harrison and Blackwell falls, it'll take everyone with it, his financial advisor had warned. Don't put everything into that, Alex. But Alex hadn't listened. He'd been confident to confident. Now every dollar, every share, every asset was gone, swallowed up in the explosive collapse of what had once seemed like the safest bet on Wall Street. A car rushed past, spraying muddy water all over his Italian leather shoes. Another leftover from a life he no longer lived. Alex didn't react. What difference did it make? Nothing mattered anymore. That's when he heard it, a faint, stifled sob coming from a narrow alley between a fancy restaurant and a boutique that displayed dresses more expensive than what was left in his bank account. He could have kept walking. Whatever was happening in that alley wasn't his concern. He had his own mountain of problems. But something made him stop, turn, look into the dark space. There, huddled against the wall under the weak shelter of a damp cardboard box, was a little girl. She couldn't have been older than 8. Her tangled dark hair clung to her pale face. Soaked by the rain, she wore a wet t-shirt and jeans, hugging her knees tightly, her body shaking from the cold. "Hey," Alex said softly, stepping just inside the alley. "Are you all right?" The girl's head snapped up, and he found himself staring into a pair of piercing green eyes, sharp, aware, and carrying a sadness no child should have to bear. "Go away," she said, her voice steady despite the shivering. "I don't need help." Alex crouched slowly, staying a respectful distance. "It's freezing out here. In this weather, everyone needs help, not from strangers," she shot back, eyes narrowing with suspicion. "I'm Alex," he said, with a gentle smile. "Now I'm not a stranger anymore." She didn't smile back. "That's not how it works. You're right." Alex nodded seriously. "Smart girl. Do you have a place to go? Anyone I can call?" Something flickered in her eyes, a quick flash of pain, hidden as soon as it appeared. "No, nobody." Alex paused. The responsible thing would be to call child services. But something in her proud, defiant gaze gave him pause. He'd seen that same pride in his own reflection lately. The look of someone who's had enough of pity. "I'm going next door to get some food," he said, nodding toward the restaurant. "If you're still here when I get back, maybe you'll want some too." The girl didn't reply, but she didn't run away either. 20 minutes later, Alex came out holding a paper bag inside. A cheeseburger, fries, and hot chocolate. She was still there, tucked further inside her cardboard shelter. "Here," he said, placing the bag down and stepping back. "It's getting colder. Forecast says it might drop below freezing tonight." The girl eyed the bag, then him, suspicion battling hunger in her expression. "What's your name?" Alex asked. The silence stretched between them, broken only by the sound of rain hitting pavement. "Lily," she finally whispered, so softly he almost didn't catch it. "Nice to meet you, Lily," he said. Alex hesitated, then made a decision, one that would change both of their lives. "I've got a couch. It's not fancy, but it's dry and warm, just for tonight, until we figure something else out." Lily's hand moved to her neck, touching something beneath her shirt, a small gesture Alex would soon learn to recognize. Her eyes, wise beyond her years, studied him like she could see right through him. "Why?" she asked simply. It was a fair question, one Alex didn't fully know how to answer himself. Why was a man who'd lost everything offering help to a kid on the street? Maybe because once you've fallen from the top, you begin to understand what actually matters. "Because," he said quietly, "everyone deserves a second chance." Her fingers clutched whatever it was around her neck. A necklace, maybe. She kept her eyes on him, and then, finally, slowly reached for the paper bag with her free hand. "Just for tonight," she said. Tiredly, neither of them could have known then that the object under Lily's shirt, a silver pendant shaped like a key, etched with a unique emblem, was about to change everything. That symbol belonged to one of America's wealthiest and most private families, a family that had spent 3 years searching for their missing heir. Before the story truly begins, wherever you are in life, take this as your sign to keep going. Alex's apartment was a painful reminder of how far he'd fallen. The living room still held his designer furniture, pieces he couldn't yet bring himself to sell. But the bar cart was empty, the art was gone, and the fridge only held leftover Chinese takeout and half a carton of milk. "It's not much," Alex said, switching on the lights, suddenly aware of the pile of unpaid bills on the coffee table. Lily stood near the door, clutching her small backpack. Her green eyes scanned the space, like she was mentally planning her escape if needed. "Bathrooms down the hall if you want to clean up," Alex said. "I'll find you something dry to wear." Lily turned to him with that same unreadable stare, the kind that made him feel exposed. "Why are you helping me?" Alex sighed, brushing wet hair back from his face. "Honestly, I don't know. Maybe because no one helped me when Harrison and Blackwell collapsed." "Harrison and Blackwell?" Something flickered across Lily's face, a brief moment of recognition. "Yeah, it was a big investment firm. Total mess. You probably wouldn't have heard about it." "I might have," Lily said softly, then quickly changed the subject. "I can sleep on the floor." "The couch is yours. I'll get you some towels," Alex replied. When he returned with towels and a huge t-shirt, Lily had set her backpack neatly beside the couch and was examining a framed photo. "On the mantel, is this your family?" she asked, pointing at the picture of Alex standing with an older couple. "My parents," Alex said with a nod. "They're retired now, living in Florida. Before all this happened." "They don't know you lost everything," her bluntness caught him off guard. "No," Alex admitted. "They still think I'm doing great." Lily nodded, as if that made complete sense. Adults lie to protect the people they love. The way she said it, so certain, so worn, made Alex's chest tighten. Sometimes, he agreed. But sometimes the truth is better, even if it hurts. Lily's fingers went back to her neck, touching that hidden pendant. "Not always," she whispered. Later, after she showered and changed into his oversized t-shirt, Alex made hot chocolate and sandwiches. He noticed how carefully she examined the food before taking cautious bites. "Tomorrow," he said gently, "we'll talk about what comes next." Alex said gently, "There are people who could help you. Find a proper home." Lily's face hardened. "No foster care. No orphanages. I won't go." "Lily, I had a home," she interrupted, her voice cracking just a little. "I can't go back there." "Why not?" She placed her mug on the table, and those striking green eyes suddenly filled with something darker, a haunted shadow. "Because they'll kill me too." Before Alex could absorb the shock of those words, Lily turned away, curling up on the couch and refusing to say more. The conversation was over. That night, Alex lay awake, her words echoing in his mind. Who was this girl? What had she lived through? What was she running from? Around 2 a.m. A scream tore through the darkness. Alex jolted out of bed and ran to the living room, where Lily was thrashing in her sleep, trapped in a nightmare. "No, Uncle Richard, please don't hurt them," she cried out, her small body shaking with fear. Alex knelt beside her, gently shaking her shoulder. "Lily, it's okay. You're safe." Her eyes flew open, wild and unfocused. For a moment, she didn't seem to recognize him. Then she whispered a name that would change everything. "Victoria. My real name is Victoria." Lily, or Victoria, acted the next morning as if nothing had happened. She sat at the kitchen counter, eating cereal with a kind of posture that looked natural, not learned, straight, perfect, composed. "So," Alex said cautiously, "about what you said last night. I was having a nightmare." She cut in flatly. "I say weird things when I dream." Alex studied her face. For someone so young, she was an expert at lying. but her eyes betrayed her. They flicked away when she denied it. Okay, he said gently, deciding not to press her. But we still need to figure out what happens next. I have a friend who works in social services. Maybe Lily's spoon clattered against her bowl. I told you, no officials. They'll send me back. Back where? Alex asked carefully. To this uncle you mentioned. Lily's hands tightened around her spoon. I don't want to talk about it. A sudden knock at the door made them both freeze. Alex approached with caution and looked through the peephole dot. It was Meredith Chen, his college friend, who now worked for the city's child welfare department. Sorry to drop in unannounced, Meredith said as he opened the door, her eyes quickly scanning the scene. Alex in wrinkled clothes, a young girl at the kitchen counter. But you left 3 messages about a child in trouble. Lily shot Alex a look so filled with betrayal that he flinched. It's not what you think, he said quickly to Meredith. I found her on the street last night. It was pouring. I couldn't just leave her there. Meredith's professional edge softened just a little. Of course not. But Alex, you can't just take in a child like this. There are legal steps, procedures. I know. That's why I called you, not 911. Alex leaned closer and lowered his voice. I think she might be running from someone dangerous. While they whispered near the door, Lily had silently moved to the window. She suddenly stiffened, pressing her body against the wall. Lily, what is it? Alex asked, alarmed. There's a man outside, across the street, she whispered. He's been watching the building. Alex and Meredith moved to the window. Across the road stood a tall man in a dark suit, next to a black sedan. His eyes were locked on their building. Do you know him? Meredith asked. Lily nodded, her face pale. He works for my uncle. Meredith looked at Alex, her face turning serious. Alex, what have you gotten into? Before he could answer, Lily darted to her backpack and pulled out a crumpled newspaper clipping. She handed it to Meredith, her hands shaking. This is why I can't go with you, she said. The headline read, Blackwood heiress still missing after 3 months. Beneath it was a picture of a younger Lily, hairstyled, wearing a fine dress, standing beside a stern-looking man labeled as Richard Blackwood, interim CEO of Blackwood Industries. Meredith gasped. You're Victoria Blackwood, Lily. Victoria nodded and reached for the pendant beneath her shirt. And if you try to take me to the authorities, my uncle will find me, and I'll disappear. For good. We need to be careful, Meredith said, quickly drawing the curtains. If you really are Victoria Blackwood, we have to follow the right process. All the official channels lead straight back to him. Victoria cut in. He has judges, police, everyone. Alex's thoughts raced. The Blackwoods weren't just rich, they were powerful, political, untouchable. His firm, Harrison and Blackwell, had once managed some of their European assets. Meredith, can you give us 1 day? He asked. Just 24 hours to figure this out? Meredith hesitated, caught between her job and the fear in Victoria's eyes. 48 hours. She said at last. Then I have to report this, for her safety, and yours. After Meredith left, Alex turned to Victoria. You've got some explaining to do. Victoria held the pendant tightly. My parents died in a yacht accident 3 years ago. Everyone said it was tragic. But I heard my uncle on the phone the night before. He said, after tomorrow, everything changes. No loose ends. That doesn't. The next day, my parents were dead. Uncle Richard took over my care, and Blackwood Industries. Her voice was flat, detached. He started treating me differently, kept me isolated. I overheard arguments about my trust fund, my shares in the company. So you ran? She nodded. With help from one of the housekeepers, she gave me this. Victoria pulled out the pendant, a silver key on a delicate chain. It opens a safe deposit box. Inside is evidence about what really happened to my parents. Before Alex could respond, his phone rang. The caller ID read, Carter Wilson, his former business partner. Alex, my man. Carter's voice boomed over the line to cheerful. Heard you're still in town. Let's catch up like old times. An hour later, they met at a bar they used to frequent. Carter wasted no time. Word is, you've taken in a kid, he said, signaling for drinks. Little girl. Alex kept a straight face. News travels fast. fast enough when Richard Blackwood's offering $1 million reward for info about his missing niece. Carter leaned in. Tell me the truth, Alex. Is it her? I don't know what you're talking about. Carter laughed, but there was no joy in it. You were always a bad liar. Listen, just giving you a friendly heads up. Blackwood's got eyes on every block. Whatever game you think you're playing, you're in over your head. Why does he want her back so badly? Alex asked. Carter's eyes gleamed. When Victoria turns 21, she takes over Blackwood Industries. All of it. $30 billion. Until then, everything's controlled by the trust and her guardian, Richard. On the walk home, Alex's thoughts spun wildly. He had stumbled into something far bigger and far more dangerous than he'd ever imagined. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. She's worth more than money. Walk away if you value your life. When Alex returned to his apartment, Victoria sat cross-legged on the couch, examining the newspaper clipping again. They've found us, haven't they? She asked without looking up. Not yet, Alex said, sitting beside her. But they're trying. Victoria, that key. What bank is the safe deposit box in? She looked him straight in the eye. First Federal, Madison Avenue. Then we're going there tomorrow. First Federal Bank stood tall, sleek, and intimidating, all marble and glass. Alex wore his last good suit. Victoria wore a simple dress and coat he'd picked up that morning. They walked to the front desk together. Calm and composed. I'd like to access my safe deposit box, Alex said, showing his ID. My niece is here to help me with a family errand. The bank manager's eyes narrowed at Victoria's pendant. Sir, this box belongs to the Blackwood estate. I can't approve access without. My mother was Victoria Blackwood, Victoria cut in, her voice sharp and commanding. She gave me this key before she died. The manager blinked, clearly recognizing the name. I'll need proof of identity. Call Richard Blackwood, Victoria challenged. Tell him Victoria's here. Let's see how fast he shows up. The man's face went pale. That won't be necessary. Please, follow me. Inside the private viewing room, Victoria's hands trembled as she inserted the key. Inside the box were 3 items: a USB drive, a handwritten letter, and a small recording device. My mother's handwriting, Victoria whispered as she unfolded the letter. Alex gave her space, allowing her to read privately, and turned his attention to the USB drive. He plugged it into his phone and found it held financial documents, photographs, and a video file named insurance. In the video, Victoria Blackwood, a striking woman with Victoria's same green eyes, looked straight into the camera. If you're seeing this, she said, it means Richard has made his move. The documents on this drive prove he's been embezzling funds from Blackwood Industries for years. Charles and I confronted him last night. Tomorrow, we're scheduled to meet with the board. Victoria, if anything happens to us, do not trust Richard. The recording device contains his confession. We love you, sweetheart. Stay safe. The video ended, leaving the room in complete silence. They don't just have proof of fraud, Victoria said softly, holding up the letter. Mom wrote that Uncle Richard was selling classified technology to foreign competitors. He would have gone to prison for treason. Alex's phone buzzed with a breaking news alert. Richard Blackwood had just announced a multi-billion-dollar tech partnership. The press conference was set for tomorrow. We need to take this to the right people, Alex said. The real authorities, not the ones he can buy off. Victoria nodded slowly, carefully placing the items back into the bag. My mom mentions an FBI agent she trusted in the letter. They didn't see the black car that pulled away from the curb outside the bank, or the photographer who captured them leaving. Back at the apartment, Alex contacted the FBI agent mentioned in Victoria's letter, Special Agent Diana Reynolds. She agreed to meet them the next morning. We did it, Alex told Victoria, feeling a massive weight lift from his chest. By tomorrow, he'll be exposed, and you'll finally be safe. Victoria smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. What happens to me after that? She asked quietly. Alex blinked. Well, you'll get your life back, your inheritance. I don't care about the money, she cut in. Where will I live? Who's going to take care of me? The honesty in her voice hit him like a punch. Before he could answer, His phone rang. It was Meredith, her voice tight and filled with urgency. "Alex, there are men here, flashing badges, asking about you and a girl. They say they're federal agents, but something's wrong. You need to get out. Now." Alex grabbed Victoria, and they slipped out the back, cutting through narrow alleys and quiet corners of the city. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number he hadn't called in months. 2 hours later, they sat in the living room of Jessica Hayes, Alex's ex-fiancée, the one who left when his money disappeared. "You've got some nerve showing up here," Jessica said, arms crossed, "especially with a child." "We just need one night," Alex said, trying to keep his voice calm. "We're meeting the FBI tomorrow morning." Jessica's expression shifted when she looked at Victoria. "Fine, one night, the guest rooms." Ready after Victoria went to bed, Jessica cornered Alex in the kitchen. "What exactly have you gotten into?" she asked. "There's a news story going around. Richard Blackwood's niece, is that her?" Alex paused, then told her everything. When he finished, Jessica looked stunned. "You seriously believe her? That Richard Blackwood murdered his own brother? For money?" "I've seen the evidence," Alex said firmly, "and I've seen her eyes when she talks about it. She's telling the truth." Jessica stared at him for a long moment. "You've changed, Alex. The man I knew 6 months ago wouldn't have risked everything for a stranger. Maybe losing everything showed me what really matters," Alex replied softly. In the guest room, Victoria lay awake, clutching the evidence to her chest. Through the thin walls, she could hear Alex defending her, believing in her. Tears slid silently down her cheeks, not from sadness, but something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. The next morning was full of quiet urgency. Alex confirmed the meeting with Agent Reynolds. Victoria repacked the contents with care. Jessica, watching the gentle way Alex interacted with Victoria, softened. "Further, be careful today," she said as they were about to leave. "Whatever happens, what you've done matters." They had reached the elevator when Victoria suddenly stopped. "Wait," she whispered. "I forgot the recording device. It's on the nightstand." "I'll get it," Alex said. "Stay here with Jessica." He jogged back inside, found the recorder, and was heading out when his phone buzzed. A text from Victoria's number. "Trap, run." Alex didn't wait. He darted for the stairwell instead of the elevator. Through the narrow fire exit window, he saw the street. Jessica, being forced into a black SUV. Victoria was nowhere in sight. His phone rang. "Unknown number." He answered with dread. "Mr. Donovan," said a smooth, cold voice he recognized from television. "Richard Blackwood. I believe you're holding something that belongs to me. Both my niece and the evidence. If you hurt her, don't be dramatic. Victoria is family. I only want what's best for her." The voice turned sharp. "The evidence, however, is another matter. Bring it to the rooftop of Blackwood Tower at noon, or Jessica won't live to see dinner." The line went dead. Alex stood frozen, crushed by the weight of impossible choices. Then his phone buzzed again. A different number. "It's V. Escaped. They have my phone. Meet me where you first found me. Hurry, Victoria," Alex whispered. Rushing through back streets. From behind a dumpster, a small figure stepped out. Her face was smudged, her dress torn, but her eyes burned with unshaken fire. "They grabbed Jessica right in front of me," she said, her voice shaking. "I slipped away through the kitchen when one of them got a call." Alex pulled her into a tight hug, overwhelmed with relief. "Thank God you're safe. They want the evidence," Victoria said. "And they want me," Blackwood called. "He's holding Jessica hostage. Wants us on the rooftop at noon." Victoria's expression turned steely, a look far too mature for a child. "Then we split the evidence," she said. "I'll hide the USB. It's our insurance." "No," Alex insisted. "We're staying together. I'm not losing sight of you again. You don't understand." Victoria gripped his arm tightly. "This isn't just about Jessica or me. Those tech deals Uncle Richard is announcing. He's selling classified security systems to foreign governments. If we don't stop him, people will die." Alex stared at her. This extraordinary girl speaking with such clarity. "How do you know all this?" "I listen," she said simply. "Adults think kids don't notice things, so they talk freely. But I understand more than they realize." Rain trickled down her dark hair as she explained the next part of her plan. It was bold, and it just might work, but they'd need help, someone on the inside. There's one person, Victoria said, my dad's old assistant, Margaret. She helped me before. She's still working there. 20 minutes later, inside a tiny coffee shop restroom, Alex dialed a number Victoria had memorized. Margaret Walsh answered a crisp voice. I'm with Victoria Blackwood, Alex said, skipping pleasantries. We need your help. There was a sharp intake of breath. Is she safe for now? But Richard is holding someone hostage. He wants the evidence her parents left behind. There was silence. Then, finally, 30 minutes. Bryant Park, northeast corner. Come alone. Margaret Walsh was in her 50s, stern and composed, with silver hair and sharp eyes that softened the second she saw Victoria. You've grown, she said gently. Victoria gave a small nod. Did you know what my uncle did to my parents? Margaret's jaw tightened. I suspected your father was going to confront the board. The next morning, the yacht accident, she shook her head. I helped you escape because I feared for your safety. Now I know I was right. She turned to Alex, sizing him up. You're the investor who went bankrupt, Donovan. Why are you helping her? Before Alex could speak, Victoria answered. Because he's a good person. The only one who saw me when I was invisible. Something shifted in Margaret's expression. What do you need from me? Alex explained. The hostage situation, the noon deadline, the damning evidence. Richard's security will be watching. Getting into the building won't be easy, Margaret warned. We don't need to go in, Victoria said quietly. We need to get Richard out. Margaret raised a brow. How Victoria held up the recording device. By letting him hear this. Just enough to scare him. Margaret listened to the tape. Richard's voice calmly describing the accident. Meant to eliminate his brother. Her face went pale. That cold-blooded monster, she whispered. Can you get him a message? Alex asked. Tell him we want to meet somewhere less obvious. Margaret nodded slowly. I can do better. I can get you into his private elevator, she said under her breath when they reached the service level. She handed them a security card. This gives you direct access to the executive floor. Victoria knows where to go from there. Victoria was already inside. A sympathetic kitchen worker, enlisted by Margaret, had smuggled her in through the service corridor. She waited in a supply closet, ready for the final phase of their plan. What if he's not in his office? Alex asked nervously. He will be, Margaret replied. I arranged an emergency pre-press briefing. He never misses those. As the elevator doors began to close around Alex, Margaret handed him a burner phone. I've spoken to your FBI contact. She'll be here at 12:30 with a warrant. You just need to keep Richard distracted until then. Alex's stomach twisted as the elevator climbed. Everything now depended on precise timing, and Richard Blackwood's belief in his own invincibility. They were counting on that ego. On the top floor, Alex slipped past the front desk, which was empty thanks to the fire drill Margaret had arranged. He found the supply closet where Victoria was waiting. Ready, he whispered. Victoria nodded, clutching the recorder tightly. Her face was pale, but her eyes were fierce. Room 72, a small conference room beside his office, she whispered. Jessica will be there, with security. That's where he always took me when he wanted private conversations, she said, her voice tightening. There's a connecting door. He can slip between rooms unseen. They crept down the hallway, the carpet muffling their steps. Victoria led the way like someone who knew every inch of the place. Outside room 712, Alex leaned in, listening. Just sit tight, lady. The boss will be here soon, said a gruff voice. This is kidnapping, Jessica snapped. Her voice was tight with fear, but she wasn't backing down. Alex's chest clenched. She was alive. He checked his watch, 11:45. 15 minutes before Richard would be expecting them on the rooftop. Victoria pointed further down the corridor. Alex walked over and knocked on the door. Come in, called the smooth voice he recognized, Richard Blackwood. The man looked exactly as he did in photos, distinguished, silver-haired, and stone-eyed. He sat behind a massive desk, calm and calculating, like a hunter sizing up its prey. "Mr. Donovan, you're early." His gaze swept behind Alex. "And alone. Where's my niece?" "She's safe," Alex said calmly, "and she'll stay that way." Richard's smile was cold, bold for a man who's lost everything. "Tell me, how does it feel to fall from so high?" "Probably the same way it'll feel for you in about 45 minutes. Alex shot back, pulling out the USB. "I have everything. The embezzlement, the tech sales to foreign buyers, and a recording of you planning your brother's death." Richard's expression didn't shift, but his jaw twitched. "Creative," he said flatly, "but no judge will take evidence from a runaway child." "The FBI might disagree," Alex said. "Agent Reynolds found it very interesting." A flicker of doubt touched Richard's face. "Reynolds, Diana Reynolds," Alex nodded. "She and Ella Nena were close, kept in touch." Richard stood abruptly. "Enough. Where's Victoria? Where's the rest of it? Let Jessica go first," Alex demanded. Richard pressed a button on his desk. "Bring Ms. Hayes here." Everything happened fast. The connecting door swung open. Jessica was shoved into the room by the guards. Just then, Victoria entered through the main door. "Uncle Richard," she said, voice steady despite her shaking hands. "It's over. You've been misled," Richard said, his tone smooth. "These people are confusing you." "No. I heard you," Victoria said, "and I have the proof." "What proof?" Richard laughed, waving to his guards. "You see, she's been manipulated." Victoria clicked play on the recorder. Richard's voice filled the room. "Charles and Ella Nena have become liabilities. The yacht's maintenance was ignored as planned. After tomorrow, I'll handle Victoria's trust fund personally." The color drained from Richard's face. "That's fake," he snapped. "The FBI won't think so," Alex said. "Neither will your board once they see the records of your theft." Richard's face twisted. "The mask fully gone now. Give me the device." "Now, let Jessica go," Alex said firmly. Richard nodded. One guard released Jessica. She moved quickly to Alex's side. "The USB too," Richard demanded, holding out his hand. Alex didn't move. "This was the most dangerous part. It's a copy," Victoria said suddenly. "The originals are already with Agent Reynolds. She's on her way." It was a bluff, but Richard didn't know that. His eyes darted to the window, thinking. "You're lying," he said, but the certainty in his voice had cracked. "Check your phone," Alex said. "Call your FBI contacts. Ask about a warrant filed this morning." Richard snatched his phone. He typed furiously. Whatever he saw made the rest of his color vanish. "Edwards, Morris," he barked. "Get the helicopter ready." The two men hesitated. "Sir, what about the press conference?" "It's canceled. Move." As they rushed out, Richard turned back to Victoria. "You're coming with me." "No, she's not," Alex said, stepping in front of her. Richard pulled a gun from his drawer. "I wasn't asking." Jessica gasped. Alex pushed Victoria behind him. His heart pounded. They'd planned for many things, but not this. "Think." "Richard," Alex said, trying to stay calm, "you won't get away with kidnapping." "I already got away with murder," Richard growled. "This is nothing." The door behind them burst open. Alex expected more guards, but instead, it was Margaret. "Richard, what are you doing?" she demanded. Richard turned his gun toward her. "Stay out of this, Margaret." "You're pointing a gun at a child," she said, stepping into the room. "Of course I'm involved." She moved beside Alex and Victoria. "Charles and Ella Nena trusted you. How could you betray them?" "They betrayed me," Richard shouted. "This company was mine too. I built the defense contracts. I took the risks," while he ranted. Victoria slipped the recorder to Jessica, who crept toward the door. "And for what?" Richard yelled, waving the gun, "so Charles could play. Saint refused defense deals that would have tripled our value. That's why you killed them." Margaret asked, her voice barely audible. "For money. It was business," Richard said coldly. "Nothing personal." "It was personal to me," Victoria said softly, stepping forward. "They were my parents." Something shifted in Richard's face, regret or calculation. His grip tightened. "I'm sorry it came to this, Victoria," truly, as he raised the gun. Everything happened at once. Jessica bolted, Margaret dove toward Victoria. Alex lunged at Richard. The gun fired. Alex and Richard crashed to the ground. Richard's hands clamped around Alex's throat. "You should have stayed in your lane," Richard hissed. "Poverty suited you." Alex's vision darkened. He couldn't break Richard's grip, not with his injured shoulder. Just as everything began to fade, the pressure vanished. Victoria stood over them, gripping a crystal trophy from Richard's desk. Blood oozed from a cut on Richard's forehead. "Alex," she cried, dropping beside him. "I'm okay," he coughed. "Just a graze. We need to move," Margaret said, helping him up while Victoria kept a nervous eye on Richard's limp body. "The FBI will be here any minute." "No," Alex said, holding his bleeding shoulder. "His men will return first. We need to hide Victoria." As if summoned by his words, the door flew open. Alex braced for security. But it was Agent Diana Reynolds, flanked by FBI agents with guns drawn, federal agents. She called out, "Nobody move." Jessica appeared behind them, breathless. "I found them in the lobby." Agent Reynolds scanned the scene. Alex bleeding, Richard unconscious, Victoria holding the bloodied trophy. "Victoria Blackwood?" she asked gently. Victoria nodded, her eyes still locked on Alex. "Your mother was my friend," Agent Reynolds said softly. "I'm here to help." Within minutes, the office filled with federal agents. Paramedics attended to Alex's shoulder, treating the bullet graze that appeared worse than it actually was. Richard Blackwood, still dazed from Victoria's strike, was handcuffed and taken away, while a female agent took Victoria's statement. Alex found himself face to face with Agent Reynolds. "You took a huge risk," she said, her tone caught somewhere between frustration and admiration. "Richard Blackwood is one of the most powerful men in the country," Alex corrected her, wincing as the medic cleaned his wound. Reynolds gave a slight nod. "The evidence you retrieved, along with that recorded confession, seals his fate. He's finished." "What happens to Victoria now?" Alex asked, eyes drawn to the girl across the room. Despite everything, she sat with quiet strength, answering questions with grace. "It's complicated," Reynolds admitted. "With both her parents gone and her guardian arrested for their murder, she'll need a court-appointed guardian until her inheritance is sorted by the probate court." "Foster care," Alex said, his voice flat. "Most likely," Reynolds replied, "unless a family member steps forward." Later, as they exited Blackwood Tower, Victoria officially under FBI protection, Alex found himself battling an unexpected sense of loss. It was over. She was safe. Richard would be brought to justice. So why did it feel like something was missing? "They're taking me to a safe house," Victoria said as they stood on the sidewalk. "An FBI agent nearby. Agent Reynolds says I have to testify against Uncle Richard." "You'll be amazing," Alex said, forcing a smile. "You're the bravest person I've ever met." "Victoria Blackwood." Victoria's composure finally cracked, and her eyes filled with tears. "Will I see you again?" Before he could answer, Agent Reynolds stepped forward. "We need to leave, Victoria." Suddenly, Victoria ran back and threw her arms around Alex. "Thank you for seeing me," she whispered, when no one else did. Then she was gone, escorted into a line of government vehicles, leaving Alex on the sidewalk with a sore shoulder and a deeper ache in his chest. Jessica came up beside him. "You all right?" "Yeah," he lied. "It's over. She's safe." "What now?" she asked. Alex shook his head. "No idea. Get a job. Start over." Jessica hesitated before kissing his cheek. "You're a better man than I gave you credit for, Alex Donovan." 3 days later, Alex sat in his apartment surrounded by boxes. The landlord had given him until the end of the week to move out. His savings were gone. He'd helped uncover a $30 billion fortune, and now he was practically homeless. His phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Mr. Donovan, this is Patricia Winters from Winters, Goldberg and Shore. We represent the Blackwood estate." Her voice was sharp and professional. "Ms. Victoria Blackwood has made an unexpected request, and we need to speak with you urgently." Alex felt completely out of place in his worn-out suit and scuffed shoes as he entered a reception area that likely cost more than he'd ever made. Patricia Winters, a sharp-eyed woman in her 60s, studied him with cool precision. "Thank you for coming on short notice, Mr. Donovan. Is Victoria all right?" Alex asked immediately. A flicker of approval touched Winter's expression. "She's doing as well as can be expected. She's with a court-appointed guardian in a secure location. Are Richard's people still out there?" "Some are, but that's not why I called you." She motioned for him to sit and opened a folder. "The Blackwood estate is complex. Victoria is set to inherit control of Blackwood Industries when she turns 21. It's currently valued at approximately $30 billion. Until then, it will be managed by a trust." Alex shifted uncomfortably. "What does this have to do with me?" "Everything," Winters replied, locking eyes with him. "Nana Blackwoods will had a unique clause if both she and Charles died before Victoria turned 21, and if Richard couldn't serve as guardian, she requested an alternative." "A family member?" Alex asked. "No," Winters said. "She specified the guardian must be someone of moral character. Someone who demonstrates selfless concern for Victoria above financial motives." Alex frowned. "That's oddly specific." "It is. The court usually chooses family, but given the situation, the judge is willing to consider Eleanor's request." She leaned forward. "Victoria wants you to be considered." Alex stared at her, stunned. "Me? I'm not qualified. I don't even have a job. I'm being evicted." "Guardianship isn't determined by income, Mr. Donovan, but by character. You risked your life for a child you barely knew, with no reward in sight." "Anyone would have done the same," Alex said. "No," Winters replied bluntly. "They wouldn't have. Most would have called child services. You saw Victoria when she needed someone the most." Alex slumped back in the chair, overwhelmed. "This is a lot." "Of course," Winters said, handing him a card. "Her trust covers basic living expenses and a modest stipend for her caretaker, not lavish, but enough to focus on her well-being." As Alex left the office, his thoughts raced. Him, the guardian of one of the richest kids in the country. It felt absurd. No parenting experience, no money, no stability. His phone buzzed. A text from Agent Reynolds. "Victoria asks about you every day. Visiting her would mean a lot." Attached was a photo. Victoria smiling gently, seated in what looked like a cozy apartment. Around her neck, the silver key her mother left her, a symbol of truth and strength. Outside, Alex wandered aimlessly, his mind trying to grasp it all. The rational decision was obvious. He should decline. Victoria needed structure, not a broken man starting from scratch. Then his phone rang again. "Margaret Walsh. They've offered you guardianship, haven't they?" she asked. "How did you know?" "Because I suggested it," she said calmly. "I worked with Eleanor for 15 years. I know what she meant in her will. She wanted someone who would love Victoria for herself, not her inheritance." "But I barely know her," Alex replied. "You know her better than most," Margaret countered. "You saw through the fear and grime to the child underneath. That's more than anyone else ever did." As the sun dipped behind the Manhattan skyline, Alex found himself standing outside First Federal Bank, where all this had begun. Through the glass, he could see the polished floors where Victoria had first claimed her truth. Another buzz. A text from Meredith Chen. "I just heard about the Blackwood guardianship. Are you going to accept?" "I don't know," Alex replied. "Isn't it insane, me, raising a kid?" There was a pause. "When I saw you that day, you know what stood out? The way you listened, like what she said mattered. That's rare. She's one of a kind." "Yes," Meredith agreed. "And she chose you. That means something." As night blanketed the city, Alex made his decision. Yes, there would be challenges, the media, the responsibility. But Victoria had faced a murderer for justice. He could face whatever came next for her. He texted Agent Reynolds. "When can I see her?" The reply came almost instantly. "Tomorrow, 10 a.m. She'll be so happy." For the first time since Harrison and Blackwell had collapsed and his life had unraveled, Alex felt something he hadn't felt in a long while: purpose. And maybe, just maybe, a glimpse of a different kind of wealth than the one he'd once lost, watching Victoria feed the ducks by the pond, her freshly trimmed dark hair catching the sunlight. He heard her laugh, a sound still rare, but becoming more familiar and deeply treasured. The court process had been long, The media attention brutal. Tabloids screamed with headlines like billionaire orphan and broke hero. Richard Blackwood had pleaded not guilty, but the evidence was overwhelming. Between Margaret Walsh's testimony and Victoria's fearless presence in court, his conviction had become inevitable. "We're being watched," Victoria said calmly, walking back to the bench and brushing breadcrumbs off her hands. Alex nodded towards the discreet security detail standing at the park entrance. "Just part of the job until the trial's over. Not them," Victoria added, her tone edged with a familiar wariness. "The woman by the maple tree. She's been tailing us since we left home." Alex turned slightly. A familiar face stood under the shade of the tree. "That's Jessica." Victoria's shoulders eased a bit. "Your ex-fiancée. She's been texting. Wants to talk," Alex said, hesitant. "Would it be all right if she joined us for a few minutes?" Victoria thought it over, then nodded with a seriousness that reminded him how she often seemed much older than 9. Jessica approached slowly. Her eyes took in the difference in Alex, the newfound confidence in his stance, the natural way he sat beside Victoria. "Hi," she said, unsure of herself in a way Alex hadn't seen before. "I hope I'm not intruding. We're just feeding ducks," Victoria replied, observing Jessica carefully, the way she studied everyone who stepped into her world. "You look good, Alex," Jessica said, glancing at them both. "Both of you." It was true. The modest townhouse funded by Victoria's trust had brought them some peace. Alex had enrolled in courses to study trauma recovery and child development. Victoria had started at a private school with strong security and a strict no-media policy to guard her privacy. "Thanks for helping with the college fund charity," Alex said. The non-profit he'd created for underprivileged children had been Jessica's suggestion, born out of Victoria's story, built to help others like her. "It was nothing," Jessica said, brushing it off. "The financial world still feels guilty over Harrison and Blackwell. They'll be writing donation checks for years." Victoria, who had been watching the ducks glide across the pond, suddenly asked, "Do you regret it? Leaving Alex when he lost his money?" Victoria. Alex said gently, "That's a very personal question." "It's okay," Jessica replied, her smile tinged with remorse. "Yes, I do. I regret it very much." Victoria nodded, appearing satisfied. "People make mistakes. My mom always said what matters is what you do after." Jessica blinked fast and checked her watch. "I should go. I've got a meeting." She paused. "It was really nice seeing you both." After she left, Victoria turned to Alex. "Are you going to get back together with her?" Alex smiled at her straightforwardness. "No, that chapter's closed." Victoria looked relieved. "She's kind, but she doesn't see you, not really." Moments like that reminded Alex just how deep her insight ran. Her green eyes often seemed to carry the pain and wisdom of someone who had lived far longer than her years. As they walked home, Victoria's small hand slipped into his. What was once a rare sign of trust had become instinctive. Their journey wasn't perfect. Victoria still had nightmares. Reporters still showed up outside from time to time. And raising a child, especially one like Victoria, sometimes overwhelmed Alex. But they were learning together, step by step. That night, as Alex tucked her into bed, she asked softly, "What happens after Uncle Richard goes to prison?" "Well, I have to run Blackwood Industries when I'm grown up." "That's your decision to make," Alex replied. "Your parents' legacy belongs to you. You can shape it however you wish." Victoria fell quiet for a beat. "I've been thinking about changing the company name. Blackwood doesn't feel right anymore." "Oh," Alex said gently. "What name were you thinking of?" Her fingers brushed the silver key still hanging around her neck. "Donovan Industries has a nice sound." Alex's throat caught unexpectedly. "Victoria, you don't have to, I know," she cut in, "but I want to. You're my family now." Those words, simple, honest, filled a place in Alex's heart he hadn't even realized was still empty. 1 year to the day since Alex had found Victoria shivering in that rainy alley. They stood on the courthouse steps. Richard Blackwood had just been sentenced to life for murdering Charles and Ella Blackwood, along with charges of fraud, embezzlement, and attempted murder. "How do you feel?" Agent Reynolds asked Victoria as reporters shouted questions from behind barriers. Victoria thought about it for a moment, like I can finally start living, instead of just surviving. Later that night, Alex found her curled on the window seat, gazing out over the city. The silver key rested in her palm, catching the glow of the lamp beside her. "I don't need this anymore," she said quietly, holding it up. "The safe deposit box is empty." "The truth's out." Alex sat beside her. "So what will you do with it?" She closed her fingers around it. "Keep it. To remember that sometimes the most valuable thing isn't what's inside the box. It's who helps you open it." Alex smiled at her words. "Your parents would be so proud of you." "Victoria, I know," she replied with calm confidence. Then, after a small pause, "I've been thinking, would it be okay if people called me Lily again, just at school, and with my friends Lily?" Alex asked, surprised. "I thought that was just a name you used when you were hiding." She shook her head. "It was my mom's nickname for me, because I was her little flower." Her voice softened. "Victoria is who everyone expects me to be. Lily, that's just me." "Then Lily it is," Alex agreed gently. "But you know something? Whether you're Victoria Blackwood or Lily, Donovan, you're the bravest, smartest, most extraordinary person I've ever known." Lily leaned into his side, a child once more, despite everything she had endured. "Do you think people still talk about us, the millionaire and the little beggar girl?" Alex wrapped an arm around her. "Probably. People love stories like that. They all laughed, didn't they, when you took me in?" "Some did," Alex admitted. "They thought I was crazy." Lily smiled, one of those rare, radiant smiles that lit up her entire face. "Well, they're not laughing now." Outside, the Manhattan skyline glittered with promise inside. A man who had lost everything and a girl who had inherited more than she could ever spend had found the one thing neither of them could buy: a family. And somewhere, Alex liked to believe, Ella Nana and Charles Blackwood were finally at peace, knowing their daughter had found her way home. The end.